Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. You've tuned into the only multi-generational conversation on the roles of fathers in society. Welcome to Dads and Beer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dads and Beer podcast. I'm Chris Jordan, your host. I'm here in Mercer, Pennsylvania right now with one of my oldest friends in life. He was just on Dudes and Beer about a week ago, Mr. Michael Davis. With me also is his wife, Crystal Davis, who may or may not talk. We'll see. Most people end up talking. Also with me once again is our inaugural Dads and Beer guest, Mr. Joshua Davis.
Hello,
so welcome back to the program,
Thank
my
you very
friend.
much.
And you know, these are two of my favorite guys in the world for, good God, about 20 years now. And to be able to sit down in their basement. Number one, I live in Texas, so I don't get to chill in a basement too much. But to sit down here in the basement and talk about things like this, to me, is what it's all about. And
Here.
we're going to talk a little bit about fatherhood, talk a little bit about things going on in life. Like y'all know, I'm a new father. Y'all are old hats. You know, there's been some things going on with y'all. Just even talking upstairs that, hey, the world is growing. The world is growing. Things are changing.
Children are growing.
Yeah.
Children are growing.
That's just it. And it does happen entirely so fast. I remember even when I was a teacher, the time span between seeing a student in 6th grade and then seeing them senior year, it was like time just flew by.
I was going to say,
You
hell,
know.
I still, think that, this is my sophomore year in high school was yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just like...
Yeah, no, I
it's
still
happened that
feel
fast.
like college is still a thing.
Well, even our children, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just yesterday, it seems like Lily was being born. Your firstborn was born. Now she's 12. You know, my firstborn was born 10 years ago, and it seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of the past experiences of their life, it's mashed up, but still
Going forward, changing, ever-changing.
Yeah.
Going forward, changing, ever-changing.
Well-
it's crazy how fast time flies. It is.
Yeah.
Yet it's still so memorable, to the last moment.
Well, and on that note, just thinking about that, how does that progression take place? Like, do you view it as linear time? You know what I mean? Like, is there like a timeline built in your head with your kids' lives?
Absolutely.
Or is it more like a collage?
No,
you know what I mean?
Not straight.
Well, time is time is
Crystal has spoken.
Crystal
Vow
has
is broken.
spoken.
Told you it happened, woman.
You'll warm up to this. Trust me.
You can't not.
You can't not.
You can't not.
So
Go ahead,
as
Joshua.
far as time, I mean, time as far as our children definitely seems linear.
Yeah.
Right. But in the overall grand scheme of things, it's definitely cyclical.
Yeah. Okay.
Where
And explain that. Explain that for the people out there.
well, time has 3 different measures, right, throughout
Sure.
history: chaotic time, linear time. I'm sorry, cyclical time, and then linear time. And linear has been more in the Western culture and how we define time,
Yeah.
and it's over the course of history. But getting back to the children portion of it, I mean, in our minds, I see that as linear time because you do see it from start to finish.
From the
right?
beginning to end.
Exactly. You see your children being born, growing up, and all these key points
Yeah.
within their life
now-
that really make the effect
You
on you.
forgot about
as
the
a parent.
growing of the children.
Because, there's of course that. I mean, you got my son's 6 months old, and I can't tell you the last time I've seen 6 months fly by so fast in my life. But do you find that in addition to that linear time, that there is a cyclical timeline within that?
Oh, absolutely. Because overall, we should really think of time as cyclical, because then we really start looking back at history and trying to learn from those mistakes or achievements from what has happened in the past and what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
So absolutely, there is that cyclical reoccurrence within our children's linear lifetime as we see it.
And I see that as something, it's definitely something I've seen in my life. So there's that. But I find it something extraordinarily important to instill and teach to children as well. The fact that what you're seeing now will be repeated. Like, this isn't going to be the only time you see this circumstance come up in your life.
Boy, there's nothing new under the sun. Is real.
Yeah.
But, okay, so that brings a good point up is, we try to teach our children about our mistakes, right? So that would become...
Yeah, keep spraying the orange juice on them.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Crystal...
She's gotten a little off on cleaning the place while we're doing the show, which is fine by me. That's cool. We came down here and she's like, "Oh my God, the basement."
She is degenerated
and
down
now,
to
she
cleaning
is
and dusting.
Yeah.
Well, we as men can handle that, right?
I'm good with it.
I am too.
Hey, man, I can't tell you how much if that's your fidget spinner, fidget away.
Dads and beer.
Right?
Dads and beer. And
right?
that's the thing. Much like dudes and beer, people are like, what about the women? Like, it's the pejorative term. And I personally think, especially as someone brought up by a single mother, that they have a very unique perspective on fatherhood. Mm-hmm. And I think a different perspective from us,
Oh, absolutely.
because I think in a lot of what this part of the show, Dads and Beer specifically, is about, as opposed to Dudes and Beer as a whole, because it's like an adjunct, is exploring the memes of fatherhood, exploring like why we view fatherhood the way we view it, not just the wisdom that we glean from our fathers, the lessons like I learned from my father not to do things like that. We all see our fathers make mistakes, and hey, the first time you see a father make a mistake, like, that's a world crusher, mm-hmm. as a young man, because that's kind of your mold,
Absolutely, it's the first influence. Your parents who's going to be your first influence. Throughout your life. But I was hoping to get back to the time issue as far as the linear and cyclical.
Sure.
But whereas we are trying to teach our children about our past mistakes, like you just brought up. So bringing that cyclical time back into the equation. So we are actually trying to.
We're actively
trying to keep that cyclical time going, but instill that into our children, right, from the mistakes that we've made, hoping that they will learn from our past, right? So this cyclical portion of it.
Michael, you look like you have something to say, my friend.
No. Just listening. Right?
You just soaking that in?
Yeah.
All right. Soak, man. Soak.
Soaking.
This, something that I've mentioned a couple times on the show, and just recently I was hanging out with our very Christian brother, Robert Dodd. And
shout out, Robert.
Shout out to Robert out in Phoenix.
Crazy man.
Yeah. To me, it was one of those that, and even talking with him, I was like, fortunately, I led as a latchkey kid. God bless my mother. She worked a full-time job, worked a part-time job, and went to college to get to where she could be a teacher and do what she wanted to do, and that's a beautiful thing. I, as a rambunctious teenager, took advantage of some of that. I played with household chemicals in ways that you shouldn't. Things like that. And it's one of those like, and I of course led
have a crazy man.
I of course led a speckled life with substances later on in life. So it's one of those like I was telling him like, and I've told a few a few people even in this show that I like to think that I'd see a lot of the trouble signs because, like, I know what those things are.
Trouble sign.
You know, I kind of live those trouble
stand out,
signs.
yes.
So, but at the same time, I was like, good God, like just looking at the world now, man. By the time Dalvis is 18 or 12, by the time he's y'all's age, it's going to be a whole
self-driving cars
dude.
by then.
It's going to be a whole different world of trouble signs. It's going to be a whole different world than what I fucking dealt with.
The
and
book's
what I
definitely
did.
going to be rewritten by then. Absolutely. Yes, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's going to be just a
even
whole new
within
world.
the next 5 years.
Yeah.
The book's going to be rewritten on those signs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And with especially with our digital day and age, stuff like that. You know? Like
No, the degeneration of American society and the
somewhat. Yeah.
the projection of oneself without accountability and fun stuff like that.
Well, and I was mentioning to you earlier, Joshua, the conversation with my mom regarding Thanksgiving and things like that. And I was like, listen, you know, I expect the fact that when, number one, I intend my children to go to public school. Mm-hmm. It will happen. And the reason is there are lessons you learn in public school socially and everything else that you do not learn in private school.
Where you're reprogramming your child after they're
that's just it. You know, they're going to go and learn some stuff, and they're going to come back and say, hey, the teacher said this. And I'll have to be like, yeah, absolutely. However,
yes,
there's this, and this also.
They're painting one side of a picture. And that's the worst part. They're painting that one-sided picture and not giving the whole information.
To me, I think, and especially coming at it from the point of view as a teacher previously, there's of course the stuff that you want to cover. There's the stuff that you have to teach, the lessons that you have to teach.
The core.
Yeah,
sure.
There's the core curriculum, and you have to follow that. But there's a way by which to use that to teach other lessons. And there's a way, and you know, that's just it. Unfortunately, they're no longer necessarily allowed to adjust curriculum to each child in the classroom. You know, like used to be a good teacher understood that Joshua learned this way and Michael learned this way, and we have to be able to get this lesson across to both of them in a way that they both understand. And unfortunately, they aren't necessarily taught that anymore. And it's also something that kind of comes instinctually a little bit, but through training as well.
Okay,
and
I think they would probably argue with you on that, though.
Well, that becomes the whole
Because
failure.
they specialize each room and make them go to their fields that they need specialized in because they need the extra help.
They do.
So they do.
Yeah.
They are actually starting to, like my son, you know, in particular. He's fallen behind in
that's
in
called
math.
tutoring.
But
Yeah, but those
But
that
it's
are
not-
really excelling go the other way. If they're not needing help in anything, then they push
Yeah.
it the other direction.
whereas
Well, no, and that's always existed, though. There have always been spiral programs. There have always been remedial programs.
They're not excluding anybody now. Everybody goes to a special
The
program.
issue is that,
to their level,
Yes.
yeah.
right?
And I think the real issue, though, especially in the classroom, is the fact that a lot of the times, like I said, the teacher's hands are tied. Like, not every school has the magnet programs. Not every school has the special class. Hell, not every school has auto shop or wood shop anymore, or even
a
or
travesty.
theater or music.
Travesties.
You know?
Gym. Yeah.
Oh, they all got gym because there's a presidential physical fitness test.
Yeah,
that they
Yeah,
have.
but
Except
it's
for
only
it's
for like 1 to 9 weeks.
Yeah,
one-
exactly.
one
Because you only
day
need
a
to be
week.
in shape for 9 weeks out of the whole high school season.
Well, I mean, really, you only need to be in shape for summer whenever you're in a swimsuit. So.
Right.
Once you can't wear white anymore, you can let it all go because then it's the holidays and you're going to be picking out anyway. Lose it all during Lent. You're all good for summer.
Yeah.
Set.
You
See
know,
the
it's-
cycle?
As far as my profession, kids not having gym class actually is job security for me because it means they're going to have worse physical physique later in life.
That
Well-
will need therapy.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, Crystal Joe,
Dr.
speaking in the
Crystal
distance
Joe.
over there, Dr. Crystal Joe, is actually
Unless you're one of my students, then it's
yes.
just Dr. Crystal.
yeah. Yeah, she actively does physical therapy, things like that. Michael and her also own a local dance studio and teach children of all ages. Feel free to stop on by if you're in the greater Mercer area and are looking for dance classes, acting. They're even doing a homeschool program now, stuff like that. Check out Tada online, the Academy of DanceAnatomy.com.
If you're
Stop
a
off
magic
and check it
player,
out.
weekends, Sundays,
Yeah.
we rock that too.
Kill down meetups.
Yeah.
Kill down, throw down on Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon
And it is
magic
a
game.
throwdown too.
Yeah.
It turns into
Well,
night.
and see, it's interesting because like Michael and I
I don't
played
get
magic.
to start until 6. So
Mike-
it's only
Yeah.
like an hour
Mike,
and a half
and
or two
you know,
for me.
and
Hour,
that's something
maybe.
to me that it is so important, and I love seeing it amongst my brother and his kids. I love seeing it with y'all and your kids. The fact that y'all have taken an interest that you had and you've passed it on so that you can share it. You see, and unfortunately,
I
as a
haven't gotten
kid,
interested in that.
as a kid, I learned a lot about tires.
Hey, I was a
that's-
tire technician for
'cause
18 months.
I
bro,
was
in
a
the-
tire
the
technician.
highest producing tire shops in Colorado.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it was because my
much
dad was a
love.
tire salesman and he lived it and breathed it. And whenever I got into his car every other weekend, there were like 8 suits on a pole and like tire samples and books in the back. So I sat there and read like tire books on like Z-rated tires and, you know, learning the difference
not
between like
X-rated
sports,
tires, Z-rated tires.
sports treads and passenger treads and water displacement.
Rated tires.
You know, like, yeah.
T-rated tires.
Because that's all the man was interested in. That and golf.
Golf.
So I learned to play golf
Nice.
so I could
Well,
spend
at
more
least-
time
yeah.
with him. But it is the fact that, like, yeah,
You
we
should
are,
do-
like,
do something. Yeah.
boy or girl, it doesn't matter what the child is. We are, like, the first impression of male that they have.
Yes.
And,
As long as we're around.
well,
God, having the dance studio has shown me how many people do not take the time to, well,
oh no, you're just a
What I mean is-
babysitter,
what
bro.
I
They
mean
come
is
and
that-
drop them off at your door and come back 2 hours later.
no.
We're talking about
no.
family dynamics.
Yeah, we're
Like,
talking
fa-
about
family
family
dynamics?
Well, explain it. Explain it.
So-
Use no names, but explain it.
So, I'm just talking about people having kids out of wedlock and mothers having multiple children to multiple fathers.
Sure.
And-
That
I
is
mean,
the
it's just-
society we live in.
It's totally the
I
society.
had to actually
we live
figure
in.
out how to categorize the kids in order to find
gotten to
their families because they all have different last names.
Everybody's got a different last name in the family, right? And you know, or you've got grandmother's got one name, mother's got another, and child's got. I mean, it's just everybody's got a different name, and
It's really hard to find the
it's
family.
so hard for me to say that I think that you know, as a whole, we're doing good in the parenting realm.
I don't think as a
You know,
whole.
It's definitely a minority.
as a culture, as a United States culture.
A
Well-
minority of
that we're
people
doing
that
And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact, and I saw it whenever I taught 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. I saw kids come to kindergarten that didn't know ABCs. Like, there's no reason your kid should be 4 years old and not know
their
ABCs,
Well,
not be able to spell their name.
we're getting back to the structure of families, though, too. I mean,
Yeah.
how
Well, and that's what I'm
important.
saying. How intricately, because Amy and I are blessed, and I try to tell her all the time. She's always like, I feel like I should be holding Dalbus more. I'm like, you know, we need to be around him a lot. But, like, to hold him, like, we're around him 24/7. We're both self-employed.
Don't worry,
It's-
he'll start rejecting that anyway.
sure.
He's gonna
At
start
some
moving.
Well,
point.
yeah, he already is. But, I mean, you know, he's still, like, wants to be held, stuff like that. And that's great. But we also need to teach him some autonomy. We need to let him figure things out himself. And we need to be there to support that and facilitate things. But I was like, you have to remember, sweetheart, most people work a 9-to-5 job, husband and wife both,
and spend a total of 3 hours with
Exactly.
their child a day.
Exactly. It's when they wake them up in the morning on the way to the daycare, and then they go pick them up at 6 o'clock, and by 9 o'clock the kid's in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And 5:30 in the morning, wash, rinse, repeat. You know, so you're looking at a grand total of like 3-4 hours a day,
and
that
that's
an
where you
adult
get
is
into
spending
like
with their
the
kid.
programming portion of people who are with your child
For longer than you are.
for longer than you are. So being a structured family, you have to have that influence within those 3 hours or what, that time frame, which, that's where we're pretty much at. You're blessed,
We are.
at this point.
We are.
It might change throughout the timeline of your children, right? Because Bonnie and I, we were blessed during our younger years of our children, right, to be able to stay with them. But and that's really
The younger
it's kinda
years are
hard-
the important ones, though.
Okay,
Between
but
like
how
0 and 4.
How influential are they at 0 to 4? Besides, like
Huge.
They are huge, but like.
They won't remember it like they will.
Well, no, they will remember. It's like the basic motor functions and the right versus
Between 3
right,
and 4 is
wrong,
when things fully start getting impressed in a child.
But their brains are still full of mush when they're
Oh
past
no,
that age.
they're still utterly malleable. Hell, man, your brain didn't even
Absolutely.
finish forming until 21. So please, people, don't smoke anything crazy till after you're 21. Don't do crazy things till after you're older, because your brain literally isn't finished forming. But quite literally, between the age of 3 and 5, there is an incredible leap of realization of the world around you, your place within it,
There's no
your
doubt about
impact to it,
Yeah.
and everything else. And that's where the importance of parental time comes in. That's where the importance of being with a kid as much as you can, the time that y'all spend with your kids, where you go out and do Big Bull Boy Scouts, where you go out and do things like that, where you go out and take Taekwondo together, tend the
Whatever,
chickens together.
But that still gets down to that whole structured family.
It does. It's the fact that you have to make the time to do it.
Yes.
You have to make the time. And I've had many, I wish I could learn to play guitar. You can if you actively
Take the
take the time to
Right.
do it. Like, dedicate time to do it.
Right.
And be real about it. And dedicate that time. And like, good God, I saw it all the time with parents, man. When I was in an assistant youth minister and we had a junior high dance, man, they barely even stopped the car. It was like they kids had to do a
practically
ninja
kicking
roll,
them
son.
out the door.
They didn't even come in and fight. Like, how many chaperones you got? You got like 200 kids here. What, you got like 3 chaperones? What's going on? Hey, what time's it end? Like, they didn't park and walk their kid into the door and like pay for them and find out any info. They just dropped them off and left. And many was the time that like dance ends at 9:30. Kid's sitting there till 11. Called his mom like 3 or 4 times. And it's like, hey man, it is Friday night and your kid's been calling you for an hour and a half. What are you doing in life that is like, you better be in the
That is
hospital.
more important.
You
than your
better
child.
have some sort of serious trauma going on to not be answering your child's phone call for an hour and a half from a cell phone you gave him.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You know?
Wow, man. Yeah.
And when you
Wow.
see that, when you see it happen on the regs, like that's the kind of stuff that kills me inside. And that was before I even had a kid.
Mhm.
Like I can't even imagine now, because the world is a totally different place. And as socially aware as we are on social media, we are more departed from each other as a society than we've ever been. We are more disconnected from each other emotionally and mentally
I think that
than
as
we've ever been.
I think that's why, as a father and mother, Crystal and I have made
Disconnected,
a
concerted effort,
very
yeah.
concerted effort to not give our children any kind of tablets or screens, just screens,
Yeah.
right, to plug into at any point during the day, all the time, whenever they want.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
And
The problem becomes
I think it's been good. I mean, it's totally counterculture.
It definitely helps
But
the attention.
It
It does
help the attention span, and
The problem becomes is when it's so prevalent that that's almost the way that society functions at that point. So are they behind, or they are ahead, or do they have an advantage? Do they not?
Well, and that's a hot topic in society right now too. Is who has advantage and who doesn't. And we talked about that the other night with you going to Lancaster High School and stuff like that, Michael, where you were quite literally the minority.
Minority-wise.
You know, like you had no true advantage in the school, but you made your advantage. You know, and that's what we have to teach our children is the fact that despite any odds, you make your opportunity.
Right, it doesn't matter.
You're the one that puts that on yourself.
So in that same thought, then, if you did expose, they would still have to make their own opportunity.
Exactly.
So regardless of whether you hold it back or not, that does not change.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like, I kind of approach my fatherhood. Number one is just one really badass psychological experiment. Like, I'm probably going to build some mazes for my kid to go through or something.
Dr. Crystal is laughing
while she's cleaning still.
It's going to be sick balls, dude. It's going to be great. But I've made a few toys for him. Like, he has this awesome night light that's like a galaxy that goes up on his ceiling.
There's a lot of beer glasses.
There are a lot of pint glasses in that
want
cabinet.
to drink out of some of those beer glasses.
But, you know, it's
I need to switch some out.
When it comes to teaching, it's the fact of I look at it the same way that I do when I taught spirituality, when I taught religion, all right? And it's the fact of I am here to provide a path and to help you down a path. I'm not here to make your decision for you. That's not my job. That's the job of your free will that you were granted by God.
We're here to give the information.
My job is to educate your conscience. My job is to educate you the best I can.
Okay.
To right, wrong, and the way the world operates so that you can judge right and wrong in the world and make the proper decisions.
And that's as a father.
Okay.
So
no, that's what I'm saying. My fathering comes from my 15 years of teaching religion. That's where my concept of fathering comes from, because people literally left their spiritual education of their children up to me. Like, I had kids come to me in junior high who had never opened a Bible and had been going to Sunday school for years and baptized in First Communion.
Didn't even know nothing.
They didn't know it. So my job was not necessarily to teach them the Bible, but to teach them to understand what those readings meant in their life during the week. Like, forget the textbooks they give us to do book work in. We're going to talk about how these things that you just heard in boring church with your parents relate to your 7th grade life between Sunday and Sunday. What happened to you in school this week? So my job was to educate their conscience, to hear what was going on in their world and interpret and give them a different way of looking at things so that they had another branch in the decision tree. Mm-hmm. It's not my job to make up a kid's mind. It's my job to try and steer them toward the best path. It's ultimately their decision. I made horrible decisions in my life, and at one point my mom was like, I don't know what I did. I'm like, you raised me badass is what you did. I made some stupid, dumbass decisions because I'm a grown-ass man, and I had free will, and those are decisions I made.
Right. It's called accountability.
You did nothing.
Right.
You had no part in any of
yeah.
that. You weren't even present when the decision was made. So how can you even put that on yourself? Philosophically, that makes no sense to me. And that's where I come from, is the fact that I'm there to provide deeper insight to the world around them. I want them to experience the world as they experience it. And when they ask me why, I want to give them a couple reasons why, so that they have a couple other paradigms to think about.
Well, and that's one of the travesties about children not having fathers in this day and age. Because
I think it's really the travesty of children not having involved parents.
Involved
begin with.
parents.
Granted, there's a lot of absenteeism with fathers, but there's a lot of absentee mothers as well.
Well,
My brother is an
you
example
combine
of
those
that.
together, though, and you have a whole portion of the society that
Absolutely.
doesn't have that help, like what you're
Yeah.
speaking, what you just spoke of.
Yeah.
And that creates whole other issues because they're so narrow-minded, or the picture has been painted just in one area. It's not more information for them. So
Well,
it's more one-sided, or there's only a black and a white for them.
That's just it, because that's where bias comes from. And I've said it numerous times on the Dudes and Beer podcast. I challenge you to find me a prejudiced 6-year-old baby, or like 6-month-old baby.
Don't punch babies. Don't punch
Don't punch babies. Don't shake them. Don't do things like that. The things our parents did with us, don't do half of those. Because they're now illegal.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Don't let them go play at the park by themselves. Don't let them go to
That's
the library by
that's a
themselves.
travesty in itself, man.
But quite literally, it is the fact
Thank God we live
of
in Mercer. Mercer as a father is a heck of a place to raise your child.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
would agree.
Sure.
I would agree.
It's a great town. It's fantastic.
Talking about can't walk across the park to
Go to the park.
Yeah, can't even walk across town to go to the park.
Here's a fishing pole. Go to the creek.
Yeah,
It's
it's been a really good place because for the most part, folks are still real.
well, and like I said,
You're slow.
you're
Things are
loath
slower, and everybody knows.
you're loath to find a 6-month-old prejudiced baby or a 2-year-old prejudiced child, because prejudice is not something that comes naturally.
No,
It
it's
is a
always
learned response.
always
It's a learned response. It comes from the biases that your parents have. It comes from the biases that your parents have taught you, the language that you've heard them use, the verbiage that you've heard them use in relation to other people, stuff like that.
Even if you grew up in a vacuum, you would still come up with your own biases based upon.
And
your
this has been proven.
experience, based upon your experience with X.
The Russians did some really interesting experiments.
Stimuli.
The Russians did some very interesting experiments, like not necessarily like raising children in the wild, but they raised them under laboratory circumstances where they had no human contact between certain ages.
Really?
Yeah. And it was wild. Like they literally, like by the time a boy was 13, they would just like destroy something whenever it came into their direct vicinity. Because they'd had no socialization. They had no idea how to react to somebody, how to interact with somebody. They went wild animal because, hey, this is my space.
Right.
At that point, it's more primal. Obviously.
Well, yeah. And like I said, it was a Russian experiment where they brought children up with no human contact.
Oh my God. Wow. That's some serious.
It's hardcore, but it proves something, and it shows the fact that like interaction is essential. Like we are by nature social animals.
Mm-hmm.
We congregated together to begin with when we were Neanderthals and things like that because, hey, it's probably a lot easier for 3 of us to graze for food than for just one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And a whole lot safer because now 2 of us can graze and 1 of us can watch the horizon for danger. And
guess what? Next time, died. Wow.
Yeah, last time some bastard went out to pick berries by himself, he didn't come back, Either he found a really good berry patch and he's just chilling and screwing all of us, or he's dead.
Yeah, he's gone.
And that was the concept that we were talking about upstairs earlier. And I'm gonna bring it full circle. Nobody was part of this or privy to this conversation earlier. But Joshua's wife brought up an interesting point about young males. And kind of a game that's played. And it carries on into adulthood amongst friends, things like that. It's called the friendly nut check.
Bag tag.
The bag tag, so to speak. You know, and it's just a friendly tip of the finger on the sly. You just shoulder to shoulder with your buddy, and it's ha ha, what's up? You know, right on the graze, and that's how it works. And she was like, why do they do that? Like, I don't understand. And I'm like, you have to understand that, like, naturally we are hunters, we are gatherers. Like, that's what's programmed into our brains through generations of genetic program, epigenetic programming,
Yes,
literally. And for us, it's the concept of safety, and it's the concept of, are you ready? Like, do you see what's not coming? How aware are you of your surroundings? Can I trust you? You're going to be down? Like, you're going to be able to see something coming that maybe I didn't see? You know?
Right.
Like, it's a survival game, you know?
Yeah.
And it is, you know? Like, we used to play it with Kill 'em in college, where assassination, where it was like, sneak up behind somebody and... What?
I haven't seen them play that on Survival.
What? Oh.
Naked and Afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that doesn't happen on camera, but
a lot. Yeah.
When you know, it really is like that. It's number one, that friendly chide that happens between men. You know, that unspoken
It's a camaraderie.
one-uppity.
Yeah.
That one-uppity.
Yeah.
Like, I got you.
Yeah.
You weren't looking. You know what I mean?
Keep you on your toes,
Like,
right? That's
That's exactly what I mean.
You know, can you see it coming
Test
or
and
not?
retest the survival instinct.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what it's about, Michael. Oh! He just plugged my okay sign, so I don't get to punch him. And see, that's another one. That's another one where it's like, oh, you look, oh, bam, like, see, you were looking, so I got you.
Slug bug.
And, you know, like, it's games that guys play, and it is a social thing, and it's very ape-brained. You know, I'm not going to lie, it's a pecking order type situation, and it is a, you know...
Lizard brain, man.
Yeah, no, it is. And you kind of have to embrace that. Like, you really do. You have to be comfortable with that as a man, because it's something that does exist inside of us that is not necessarily there fully in all females.
Lizard brain, Crystal Joe.
It's true.
Do you guys punch each other's
we
boobs
have
or
this
something? Like,
we have this desire to. I mean, you know, think about it.
What
Think
game
about
do
how
you
many
play?
how many girls, Crystal Joe, did you hang out with that would look at like a 30-foot tall tree and go, "Dude, you should totally jump off that. You should totally just climb up and jump off that right now, man." How many times did y'all do that?
Or look at your girlfriend next to you and just
Michael, with your hand down your pants.
Or
how many times
punch your girlfriend
did you
in
do
the
that?
boob and run away laughing?
Yeah.
It hurts to hit boobs.
Yeah,
You
did
touch
y'all?
boobs.
Hey, it hurts to get nut tag too.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
That
How many
equipment
girlfriends?
doesn't feed babies someday. That you don't need that stuff.
Actually,
No, it
that
just makes them.
babies.
It
That's
just
all.
makes them.
That's higher.
It's just the essential equipment for making them.
The essential is higher.
We don't need it for
half
the
of the
whole
essential
time.
equipment.
Yeah. There's only
sponge.
there's only a good 12, 13 years there.
Half of the essential equipment.
But you know, it is, and
Okay,
you do have to explain to your child as a father, like, the balance between these things, a delicate social balance of, like, okay, you know, 25 tags today is too many, son. Like, you're allowed 2 a day. You're allowed 2 a day, bro. And preferably separated by hours.
You're right.
Don't waste them. Don't blow them. All right? You got to savor them. And no, you can't bank them. You can't, like, cash them all in on Sunday and go 14. You know, it doesn't work that way.
That was slug bug.
So
We
not
banked
funny,
that
because
shit.
that's exactly the state our boys are in.
I know.
It is,
And that's
too,
just
isn't
it. That's the thing. It's a universal thing. It's a universal thing. It happens all over. You know?
Well, the question.
I would say that most cultures do have something like that.
There's some kind of hazing amongst boys. And that's what it is. It's our gentle hazing amongst each other.
Okay.
Can you hang?
Well,
Can you hang? Let's find out.
This
Tag.
is my
You cool?
problem, though.
You cool?
This
all right.
This is
you
my
cool?
problem, though. My son.
I'll get you later.
Actually, the initial question to my wife was, when are boys gay? Because we are doing this.
And that's when I said the subtle difference between a fingernail tag and a grab.
Right. Yes.
When it becomes a cup, then I'm not going to say you're gay. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not going to say you're gay. But it is one of those, like, that's when you have to question when the game went too far. Did the game go too far?
Right.
You know, I mean, between some friends, hey,
And
whatever.
see,
I grabbed Michael Davis's butt. He's a damn good-looking man.
And at the, I have too.
And you're his brother, dude.
I
That's
know,
like
that's even
Leviticus
worse.
18:19. What is wrong with you?
Jackpot!
He doesn't have a butt.
5 times Crystal Joe's rang in, folks. She said she wouldn't speak. Told you.
So the difference of us just trying
Yeah.
to explain the homosexuality compared to the actual
The line. Where's the line?
Where's the line? And you know, that's a hard subject to tackle because you do, especially in this day and age. I mean, good God, we were upstairs talking about your daughter dating a young man right now, you know, or dating a young man, however you want to say it. You know, like she thinks he's really funny. So yeah, she's into him pretty much. That's how it works. And like, at what point does that conversation happen? Because I mean, of course, you have to wait. I don't think it's a conversation that you necessarily have to like have and push.
Naturally.
I think it's a conversation that will naturally come up if you have a good relationship with your children. That question will occur.
They come to you.
They will come to you with
absolutely.
questions. If you have an open relationship where you discuss deep philosophical things, where you discuss topics like what we've talked about, you know, where you teach them intimate things that help them in life, like we were saying outside, you got beehives now, you know. How cool would it be to start making candles with your kids?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, just
like
train
teaching
to
them a
show
skill,
them.
not
Yes.
only that, but it's like, it's integral family time. We're like, hey man, it takes a little bit of time to dip some candles. You're going to have about 2 hours of uninterrupted time with your kids.
Right.
And you can talk about some stuff. And as someone who, from a divorced family, was a little bit of a depressed kid, I spent a lot of time playing games with the school therapist. A lot of times playing pickup sticks and Othello, and checkers, and working puzzles and things like that. And it's moments like that, you know, just like turning a wrench, man. How many times? I mean, good God, that's when you talk to your dad. I love my dad, and he's like a friggin' stone brick wall, man.
Well, that's where you
But
can
tell you
learn
what,
to work
you get a
with.
sledgehammer and you start tearing down a wall and building a patio, and suddenly I could talk to my dad. Because that's when he could relate, you know? And I think it's our job because, like, our fathers were brought up in a toy, and we talked about this in the episode that you were on, where you randomly rang in with when I was talking with your dad.
Yeah.
Where I was interviewing Pops, and we were talking, and then
about
Mike
this.
Davis popped in, and it was like, hey, check it out. Your son is calling me right now. Let's have a 3-way conversation.
Live!
Live!
Mercer, Pennsylvania!
Yeah, and, you know, like, I think the important thing is not only instilling these things, but being involved, being there, doing things with them, because that, like I said, that's the precious time. That's where, just like if you've worked in you were in an auto shop, I worked in an auto shop, like, you talk about things while you're working. I do it all the time. Like we do it all the time in my industry. You do too while you're running cables. You're flapping and rapping, and you're just talking all day because it passes the time while you work, and you can get into some deep stuff and some wild conversations. And unfortunately, our dads were brought up in a generation where things were much more stoic for men. I mean, we have these defined gender roles that nowadays, I'm sorry, they are completely null and void, man. If you as a father nowadays cannot express like genuine emotion toward your child, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. If
it's in your culture, then no, you're not going to.
Yeah, but we're talking about
in that
here.
Certain family, even here.
I understand that, but
man, think about how many messed up. Oh my God, dude, how many messed up homes, and that's what I'm saying. People are inhumane to each other, and it's just
and how many people like Trent Reznor leave a town like Mercer and go, "I had no idea what the actual outside world was like."
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because nobody had that conversation with him.
We know what it's like. We just don't want to go there.
Well, true. Y'all have experienced it.
Correct. We've all.
You had the experience. Trent Reznor, till he was 19, had the Mercer experience.
I had the Mercer experience.
Yeah, but you're a different person. That's the thing. It is individual for each person.
Personal experience.
Absolutely. I mean, Joshua and Michael are two fairly alike individuals. They even look fairly alike. However,
I think I'm better looking, but
a little bit.
Depends on if you're looking at chest hair or not.
Hey, depending on if you like chest hair or not.
But they have differing opinions on things. They much like my brother and I, are best of friends, probably each other's best friends in the world, other than their spouses. And as they cheers each other and smile because of it. And it's absolutely true, but there's that 15% difference. There's that, even though you were brought up by the exact same parents in the exact same circumstances, you had a totally different path of decisions than you did.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and
personally, lifestyle-wise, spiritually, everything. Totally different experience.
Well, there's
Why
so
is
many
that?
factors that play into that.
Well, it's because you're different people.
Well, that too. But I'm a baby. He was the oldest.
Same with me and my brother. Separated by 3 years, just like y'all.
The time with my father, with myself, compared to Michael's time with my father.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same with our mothers, right?
Yeah.
Totally different time. We both had totally different experiences because we split when I was 15, he was about 11.
Yeah.
And
So
yes, I mean
formative years, really.
And that's just it. Those are the, and that's just it. Like psychologically from 11 on is when you start forming your identity as a person. That's when you start integrating what you've learned into your social circle and building your social circle and your circle of friends. And that's why, like, people like us, Michael, when we met at 19, like, we were influential in each other's life. And like I said the other night on the show, you're one of the only people I know that I can call and tell a situation to and expect the fact that even though you love me and you're my best friend in the world, you're going to tell me I made a shit-ass decision, man. Straight up. And here's why, bro. And I love you, but you fucked that one up bad.
And this is what I would have done. This is what you might be able to
This is what you might be able to do to get out of it, whatever. But, I mean, hey, you fucked that up good. And I take it.
Yeah.
I take it. And you take it whenever I tell you.
Yeah.
Because, like, we understand each other that way. But it does take a special understanding of nuance of society and how to have that intimate relationship with people and how to recognize the difference between friend and acquaintance.
Well, and it's the honesty factor too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be honest with people
What?
in order to make those decisions and help them down the right path as you see it. Right? I mean,
I asked this of your father, Pops, Steve Davis.
love you, Dad.
Love you, Dad. Yeah,
Amen.
shout out to Dad.
Love you, Pops. So huge, man. The surrogate grandfather for my child.
That's awesome.
That's a heck of a title.
Yes.
When did that become official?
Yeah. Oh, it's official. Believe me. It's official, whether he likes it or not. It's happening. I'm sorry. He will have a good influence. But seriously, I asked a question of your father when he was on the show. And then literally, after he answered it, Mike called.
Yeah,
and I was like, I gotta know. I gotta know.
Doofenshmirtz
What?
rings the phone.
Answer this for me.
Yeah.
Answer this for me, Michael. And I want you to answer it now, Joshua, with you shutting the hell up, Mike. Because I love you. Shut it.
You don't love me.
I do.
Oh.
With all my heart.
You're in the
But I'm not telling you to shut up. I want you to chime up. Of everything. What was the greatest lesson you think your father taught you? What was the greatest single thing that when your father passes, you can say, this is what my father taught me that made my life?
That's easy.
What's that?
You're only worth what you can get for yourself, son. That was the biggest life lesson I think that I've ever learned from him.
Okay.
You can only get what you are worth. Basically, you're only worth what you can get for yourself.
Okay.
So that was probably one of the biggest things that have ever stood out in my mind from him. Besides the fact that there is the desire to succeed. I mean that's my dad always pushed me to succeed.
Yeah.
That just watching him, I think, the way that he operated gave me the hope that I could do the same thing that he could do.
Yeah.
That's really...
It gave you the desire to be able to do the same thing he could do.
The hope and desire
Yeah.
to do the same thing and be successful like he was.
Totally.
But, I was only worth what I could get for myself.
Okay.
That was probably one of the biggest thing that stands out in my mind.
Yeah.
Like what you're gonna, when you go to say, hey, this is what I'm worth because this is what I can do. That's what you're gonna. If you're asking for 20s and 50s, you're getting 10s and 5s. If you're asking
That's
for
so Dad.
exactly. If you're asking for 100s and 50s,
son,
you're gonna get 20s and 50s. Yep.
You're worth
Always overbid.
And he'd say,
worth what you can get.
You're worth so much more than that.
Yeah.
And just to hear that from him and seeing his desire to succeed
for your success
and to my success.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. His desire for your success.
Even
It's
now,
huge.
I mean,
it's off the chart.
yeah,
I talk to
it's
him
off the chart.
frequently.
and even now, I mean, he has a huge high level of unresponsibility, and he lives vicariously through my brother and I now.
I can't wait to live vicariously through Dalbus.
And
I
that's,
can't wait.
Sick fuck.
and he said as much too. And I
Sorry, man.
No, you should. Like you should expect that. Like I don't know. I come from a close Cajun family, and it's one of those like you should be excited for what your kids are doing in life. Like I know my
Don't
kid's
get me
gonna be
wrong, I
like,
am.
because I was a weirdo, man. Like I
Bonnie
played
and
with
I-
model rockets,
Bonnie
I
and
made
I always-
inventions. games. I did all kinds of shit as a kid.
Bonnie
and Amy
and I,
wrote plays.
we
and
always
stuff, so-
wondered what our children would be when they grow up. Like if we had another one, what would that child want to be when he grew up or she grew up? What if we had another one? Because we decided to stop at 2, right?
Sure.
Which that's another good point is, my philosophy
We're
was
considering just the one.
my philosophy was, okay, let's only have 2. Originally, we'd think, let's have a big family, let's have 3, let's have 4. But, the more I thought into it and learned more, it's best to really kind of split your energies, in my opinion. Like one child could have 100% of one of the parents' total energy, right?
Sure.
And attention to that child. So once you get farther and farther, I know family and friends. Travis Deasing, Katie Deasing, love you guys. 9 kids, and
Roger's family
God
next to
bless
my
them.
church, 13.
God bless them. because that is a struggle. I can't even imagine.
But a willing struggle.
I think
A willing struggle.
Langford's got like 6 or
A
7.
willing struggle, and I guarantee you they wouldn't say that a single one of their children is not a blessing.
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
And absolutely.
What you're saying is don't dilute your time that much.
Yeah,
and
amongst so many people.
Right, because then you really get the
you
quality.
risk diluting your time. Not don't do it.
But I think
'Cause-
those big families think that they're actually making it higher quality because there's more family members, so they get.
So
to
there's
spend more
strength in
time.
numbers.
Yeah.
Well,
what
it's the concept of a big family. I mean, yeah.
strength in numbers more would be
Sure.
Like
and I mean, there was a reason, especially back in ancient times and stuff, to have more than one kid. Stuff like that. I mean, there's a reason why the girls were much more important than the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Much more, because you had dowry with that. That's how you got additional land and that kind of stuff. But yeah, y'all live right here in Amish country, and that's straight up. You can't say there's bigger families in America than some of that kind of stuff. Where you're talking
they
15.
actually pay for men to come in and inseminate the women
Really?
outside of the Amish. You could actually get
And y'all never told me this before I was married.
Get 5
You
dead
assheads.
You could actually get 5 dead presidents to go in and inseminate someone's wife to change the lineup of genetic history, genetic makeup in their line.
Screw you both, dude.
Where's that?
Screw you both, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
And literally, they have.
He just pointed over his shoulder to the town down the road.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you which direction from Mercer, because we'll keep it on the down low.
So, literally,
No idea.
they have a sheet.
I wish you had an idea. I could have used some money back in the day.
They have a
Damn,
sheet
I'd have been visiting.
from. They have a sheet from the lady, from the woman's chest up, and so you don't see anything else, and you just do your business, inseminate, and they pay you
Wow.
$100.
Stud fee.
Mm-hmm.
Stud fee.
Because they are so.
I'm
because
23 and I've been
so-
put out to
What's your
pasture.
resource on this?
The Amish that have actually left the Amish society that work for us.
At the unnamed company that he works for.
At the unnamed company that you probably couldn't find at LinkedIn or whatever other,
Good.
social
But-
media that is out there. But
Don't do it.
I'm not going to lie. Like,
it can change on an hourly basis.
It blew Amy's mind because, like, when we were engaged, I told her, like, hey, get ready. We got family reunion coming up this year. And most people are like, okay, family reunion. There's like 20 people getting together. Like, I don't think she was ready for like 60 Cajuns hanging out,
All at once.
pocking eggs and doing like Easter egg hunts and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I come from a large family that is close. Like, we have large extended family. In
Well,
my
I
family.
think the era of large families are over. Obviously, right?
Well, it's
I mean,
because you
the
don't
family,
need the people to work on the
Yeah,
farm.
yeah, exactly.
The resources aren't there anymore. For like, we're at a point in history where
UN's telling you not to have babies. I'm just running.
The Pope's telling you not to have babies, man. Pope's crazy.
we're at a point in history.
He's
where-
not. He's not. You know why? No, he's not. Go back and look at the big green book called the Catechism, and we are all supposed to live a chaste life. You're even supposed to live a chaste marriage, believe it or not.
What I'm saying is,
So,
this Pope's an anti-Pope, man.
Hey, he just
all right, we just went a little crazy. That's a total. That's a lighter side
He
episode.
literally just got a
not doing the
Lamborghini,
beer.
Yes,
the Pope
and turned
did.
around and sold it for charity.
but
Yeah.
he auctioned it for charity.
Which
And-
is wonderful. Which is wonderful.
Every
That's
pope
what
is
he did.
gifted all kinds of stuff. He's the only pope since the inception of the papal palace to refuse the papal palace
Hey, man.
and live in community in a cell with his fellow priests.
The problem with Canon 188 is that Ratzinger, by Canon 188, erroneously gave up, right? Erroneously, he erred in resigning and trying to keep part of the papal office. Dude, 2 dudes are wearing white, man. 2 dudes are wearing white. Okay? If you read his letter, he said he didn't give it all up because he wanted to keep these pieces of it. Right?
Huh.
Yeah.
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 Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't, but that's the letter he wrote.
Great, you can write an encyclical he
And
wants. That doesn't mean
and
it's an ex-cathedra statement. And it doesn't mean it's approved by the College of Cardinals.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that that is papal law.
That's why he
That's not
erred
the way that
erroneously in
works.
giving up his papal and giving up his.
No, he just advocated the papacy and said, thank you very much. He was brought in.
Aired,
I can tell you right now,
was
as someone who sat and had dinner with him as a cardinal at the seminary, like, he was brought in for a very specific reason. And the reason was he was the former head of the College of Cardinals that was in charge of
And
sexual
South
ethics, stuff like that. The whole reason that Ratzinger was brought in and made Pope was to take care and clean house of the sexual scandals going on. That was the whole reason he was brought in.
Yeah, but Ghost Leo is like on all his entourage of that times 10. They've continued the scandals.
Well, I mean, the problem is you
And
have
they
to remember.
pushed him out.
Hey, you have to look at it this way.
No, see,
No. Stop. Number one, no, because that's like saying the president of the United States knows what every friggin' governor of every state is doing. And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. The Pope does not know what every local bishop is doing. He doesn't.
Not at all.
He doesn't. So when a bishop is skirting around a priest from church to church because he's touching children, the Pope has nothing to do with that. He has no idea about it.
I'm not saying.
No, you were actually.
No.
You said that. You actively just said that.
I
So-
will say I'll back that up.
All right.
I would say that the gay mafia in the Vatican actively had political
Okay, now you're
machinations.
So are you saying that homosexuals are pedophiles? Because that's not the case. There's no there is no psychological basis for the fact that homosexuals are pedophiles. There's no factual or scientific basis that celibacy leads to pedophilia.
Well, all I gotta say is
Pedophiles are pedophiles. They're monsters. I can tell you right now. As
pedophiles.
no, they wouldn't be. No, they wouldn't be. On 2 hands, show me how many homosexuals you know. Because I got 5 in my family. 2 hands. Give me more than a handful.
Yeah, I got 2 hands worth.
Okay, now how many of them are pedophiles? Mr. Most of them would be.
I don't know that because most people aren't going to tell you that.
But they told you they're gay.
divulge that
But they told you you're. They told you they're gay.
But gay is not illegal.
That's like saying everybody that wears
Pedophilia is illegal.
and see the problem with that mentality though, Michael, is that no. The problem with that mentality is the same thing with people who think that every man that wears a collar touches children because he doesn't have sex, so that must make him a pervert. That must make him psychologically
sex
wrong.
when you wear a collar?
Because you're a priest.
Oh, you're going that
Priests
way.
don't-
I was going to
yeah.
ask about scarves.
No.
God, no.
And this is something that,
Collars,
like,
not scarves.
statistically is not supported on any basis. It is not. And I can tell you right now, as someone who was a seminarian, you go through a month of psychological testing. 1 month just to be entered into the seminary. Just to be considered. It's a month of psychological testing.
They do that all around the world.
At least here in America.
Just wondering.
And mostly around the world since Vatican II happened. Yes.
Just wondering.
So the issue is a pedophile, number one, is a fucking predator.
Well,
They are a stop.
I still-
They're a monster. They are a
still think that
sociopath.
There's political. I just think right now that the Vatican. And
I know
and the
many
church-
gay priests. I know many people that were homosexual that I was in the seminary with that wear a collar that are fantastic, amazing priests.
Right.
The fact is they are called to a life of celibacy. And homosexuals, much like married people and much like any unmarried person, are called to a life of chastity.
Gotcha. What I'm
That's the
saying
big green book.
The Vatican at this point has gotten too political.
Dude, we're the oldest political organization in the world. How can you say we've gotten too political?
Well-
the Catholic Church is the oldest political organization.
And it's
period.
become corrupted, just like the rest of all the political.
Well, it's inherently human. You can't stop that.
So you
And
just
that's where I'm. But that's what I'm saying.
You can't
Just
stop that. Okay,
just
so
because-
you're willing to say that like human beings aren't corrupt? That a man that wears a collar maybe isn't an
that's
alcoholic?
the problem.
Maybe.
Human nature is corrupt, right?
Okay, I'm not going
Therefore,
to. Saint
Any
Augustine deny
building
that.
or any edifice or any organization that humankind builds will tend towards entropy because of human nature. Not everybody stays in a state of grace, right?
Well, I'm with you, but
Right.
I'm also here to tell you that there are just as many teachers in your public schools
This
touching
whole
children,
world
just as many police
is
officers,
so corrupt.
right
Which is-
just
now,
as many politicians and movie stars, quite obviously.
This whole world is so corrupt. It's not just the United States government. It's not just NATO. It's not just the UN and all the pedophilia going on there. Dude, it's not just the church. Dude, it's
Muslims for that
it's
fact, or whoever.
yeah, it's all kinds
Yeah.
of everybody on the take and
Yeah.
fleece, man. And all I'm saying is
There aren't that many people in the fleece on the take.
the money.
Most of them live a pretty fucking modest life, bro. I don't know how many priests you personally know, but
No, I'm not saying priests themselves. I'm saying the greater organization and the Vatican specifically, where the power, where all the centers of power, right, in all these different cities that are corrupt, the Vatican being a nation state that has a capital and is subject to human failing, right?
sure,
Just as the rest of them are.
not denying it.
I'm just saying.
We did some
everything
horrible
is
things.
so-
Good God, we waged
Dude.
war against some people for like 300 fucking years, bro. In the name of God,
saying
to
that
go
right
find some
now.
trinkets.
I'm saying that right now there's problems inside. With
The problems
entirety-
inside are not nearly as rampant as you think, my friend. Is the
Well, I
issue?
hope so. I hope
Is the issue?
so. Yeah.
And unfortunately, those things are conflated by media. Those things are conflated by misunderstanding of statistics. There are just as many married men out there touching children, just as many married pastors, married rabbis, married teachers, female teachers.
just whatever percentage
Molesting
of people,
children.
Yeah, whatever percentage of people that are going to be
The problem is,
bad.
you go
no
through,
matter
and
what.
here's the point I was making earlier. if you can go through a month of intensive psychological testing, then go through 8 years of living in close community, and I mean close community, with fellow people, the whole while
Being chased.
twice a month, seeing formation directors, spiritual directors, going to therapy, all that happens regularly for 8 years. Takes 8 years, 9 years actually. 12 years if you want to be a Jesuit, but 9 years. You spend 8 years in school, then you do a year of diaconate, then you get a collar and you're a priest. So longer than it took you to be a doctor is what it takes to be a priest. Now, if you can go through all that and you are a pedophile, you, my friend, are a true sociopath. And it doesn't matter what career you had. You could be a fucking investment banker, married with 3 kids, and you'd be touching children.
You'd be messed up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. You are a monster that knows how to hide in plain sight and is there to stalk. Period. Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, a fireman, an investment banker, a cable layer, an audiovisual technician, or a freaking physical therapist.
Right.
You're a monster and you know how to hide in plain sight. If you can go through 9 years of regular psychological therapy and review and be doing that,
And there's no doubt they still get through.
sure. Because
obviously.
Because,
obviously.
but they are within the minority. And they are within less than the regular section of society that is pedophiles.
With that type of scrutiny.
They
over
don't
that
even
time,
meet up with the average number of people in regular society that touch children. The only difference is they're celibate, so they're focused on, because that must make them crazy.
No,
How can
I
you
think
live a life with that? No, dude, I heard it from my fucking father. Don't tell me that. I heard it from my dad when I joined up. What are you going to do? Go through life without fucking? I shit you
I
not.
believe you.
And I'm like, I don't know, Dad, when did you first have sex? I was 16. How the fuck did you go 16 years without sticking your dick in something? Those are my exact words. Like, how did you even manage? What's that about? Oh my God. Are you serious? You did that?
What restraint?
Like, I'm sorry, sex is not the end-all be-all of life. Good God, go watch Seinfeld and see the episode where George stops having sex and, like, he learns fucking Portuguese and physics because suddenly he has all this other time in his brain that he's not occupied with sex.
Which is hard for males.
It's
compared
hard.
to females.
It's hard, but what it does not do psychologically is make you a perverse person.
I think the statistics,
That's the twist
though,
that happens.
compared to the actual Christianity or bishops or whoever preachers that are actually being what do you call it,
Having a collar.
having a collar,
Sure. Ordained.
would actually be somewhat similar to the population
It's
as
less.
a whole.
It's less.
or less. So
It's less.
because of the scrutiny they get to,
Yeah.
or go through.
They go, as opposed to your regular
Right.
average person,
Right.
they go through therapy regularly.
And so to sum it up, like you said,
Even as a priest, they still go to spiritual
they're
direction
looking
as
at
a priest.
the celibacy
I
side
still think
of
we
like
need to
pointing
have
at
married
that.
priests.
And the Pope that you ain't liking right now just came out and said we really ought to think about having married priests.
Oh, you're going to become a priest soon.
Well, I think it would really be more the fact that priests could be married.
No, he has already said that.
Because that's kind of the way that it like already works in the Anglican Church and everything else. Is if you've taken your vows, you have taken your vows. If you're married, then all right. So, but these are something like quite obviously, people. We just got into a very passionate discussion about this for about 20 minutes, and these are the things that we worry about for our children as Catholics. You and I.
Well,
I'm not
dude.
sure exactly. I know you don't exactly ascribe to Catholic faith.
Zoroastrianism?
You're the original faith. You're a Zoroastrianist.
Yeah,
You believe
not necessarily, but close to.
I think so because mainly
He
you believe in the true concept of duality
He fits
and
that.
good and evil.
Yeah, he fits that mold.
Good and
That's
evil.
why I tell him that.
There
That's
is-
actually pretty darn.
There is a
close.
Huru Mazda and there is evil.
Yes.
See, I know where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And you know, absolutely
All right.
true. You know, and it's a black and white way of looking at things, and it's you know, it works for a lot of people because like I choose to believe that we are the manifestation of evil. We're the ones that bring it about. By having these thoughts, by putting forth negative thoughts on people, by putting forth negative thoughts onto a situation, we are the ones that actively like add to this Tom and Jerry snowball rolling
there's
down
no
the
doubt.
hill.
There's no doubt about that. Yes.
And
We do.
we really do. And I think that we as parents really have to step back because I've had to do it recently. I've started really re-examining a lot of the harsh ways that I saw and viewed the world because at one point I wasn't necessarily that way. And what made me that way? Why did I become so stoic in the way I thought on so many things? And I really need to change that by age 3 of my child. I have 2.5 years now in which to, I think I've got a good paradigm of the world, but I've got 2.5 years to really polish that paradigm.
Well, it's a work in progress. The whole goddamn
Oh, well,
time.
it's a work.
Yeah,
It's a work in progress your whole life. The paradigm.
And
Don't
that's
get me
what
wrong.
parenting. That's what real parenting is
That's
changing gears at high speed.
Absolutely grinding them, son.
Son.
Regular transmission
Yeah.
maintenance
Yeah.
is the name of this episode.
That's your rev limiter going off.
Yeah. When you hear it, just
Yeah.
grind when you hear it whine.
Yeah. Changing gears at high speed.
And, you know, it's absolutely true because life goes at breakneck speed. And once you have kids, like, it goes by even faster. Like I said,
Days
6 months
go at
has
breakneck
flown
speed.
by. Like, I can't even, like, I remember at month 2, I was sitting there one day, Amy had gone to the theater and I had Dalbus. And it was just like this realization of,
You and I are going to be together.
Yeah.
oh, no.
God.
It was
Making
literally
me
the
sad.
realization of, yeah, I'm not babysitting.
That's
Like,
mine.
this is,
Wow, baby.
this thing ain't going anywhere. Like, this
I
is mine,
can't pass
man.
him off.
not getting
Yeah,
any relief.
Right.
this is real. Like, this is here now, dude. Like, I wasn't watching this baby for the last month and a half for somebody while they were like in Europe, you know, or on tour. Like, this is my baby.
This is my realization
said-
of having this
Yeah.
is mine is when I just brought Lillian home from the hospital. I was carrying her down the hallway to the bedroom
Mm-hmm.
and I accidentally hit her head off the corner of the wall and she started to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, she's real.
Oh my God.
No, you've been frantically taking care of the place as we've done the episode. As we get ready to wrap up here, Crystal Joe, I would like you to, you know, because like I said, it's not just our view of fatherhood. It's not just our view of fatherhood. There is an expectation of you as a mother on behalf of Michael as a father, even on behalf of me as a father. Like, I guarantee you someday you're going to be like, hey, Waldo, yo, what the hell, dude?
I've already
Probably
said that
shouldn't do it.
before.
You said that about an hour ago. Yeah. When you're cleaning headphones, folks, make sure to tell the difference between them rubbing alcohol in your beverage. That's all I can say. She had a very mothery moment.
We'll leave it at that.
So you're a dad, huh? Nice.
Is that formula that you're putting in his mouth?
It was only 70% isopropyl, folks. Come on, it was wintergreen. It was all good. Very savory.
Hey, at least your headphones are clean.
Then they sound beautiful.
They are.
But like, where do you weigh in on the concept of fatherhood in modern society? Like, where do you see the importance of Michael and Joshua in the lives of their children? Where do you see as the motivating factor, I guess?
I would say that Mike and Josh are in this weird middle zone of being fatherhood because I work with patients that are of the generation that mama's at home and does everything at home, dads do nothing, and I get laughed at for asking if they even help their wife clean the house. And what do you think I married her for? And if I think about my husband, I'm like, well, my house wouldn't be clean without him.
Yeah.
You know? And then you've got the youngest generation of the dads aren't even in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely a rapid transformation of involvement in parenting.
Yeah. Now, as a young lady, what was it that you looked to your father to?
I looked to my dad to communicate in stressful situations because he can always remain very calm no matter what's going on around him.
He's cool as ice, man.
So he is.
Yeah.
Dale is a cool mofo, man.
Yeah,
he is.
He's cool as fucking ice.
He's like, yeah.
So that is.
Look at that.
That is the perfect.
That's my shooting hand.
That's a perfect example because
this is my drinking hand.
If anything,
that's my shooting hand.
What Dale has taught me too is to stay as cool as ice and be able to handle those situations like that.
And would you say that you had a different relationship with your father than your brother did? Was there like a different dynamic?
I think every daughter would have a different relationship.
Actually, it's kind of weird because we do have 3 kids to watch the difference because I only had a brother.
Yeah.
That I can see the relationship between my daughter and her brothers, but I don't understand the brother-to-brother relationship like you were talking earlier with that boy thing.
Yeah.
That's
no, me and my
weird.
brother used to lay down on the floor. Me and my brother used to lay down on the floor and throw darts over our head and see who could move out of the way faster whenever they fell.
Well, and a boy to a girl, you can only tolerate your brother for so long, and then you just leave and you go to another room. Boys don't seem to do that. You're like, leave him alone. And then all of a sudden they're playing nicely and they've already attracted each other back to that same state that caused the problem to begin with.
They antagonize.
We do.
Then
We do.
fight,
And it's
then get along and then antagonize and then fight.
well, and I gotta say, like, I annoy the fuck out of Amy sometimes. I love her and she's such a saint, but I annoy the fuck out of her, dude.
I think we all do.
Because I pick. We pick. That's what we do, and it's a yardstick for us. And we do have to kind of, as things move on in society, like, I'm trying to get away from a lot of the harsh, I don't mind some sarcasm like what we've been throwing around tonight, but I have been trying to personally move away from the harsh, biting sarcasm of society because I find it the low-hanging fruit. And I really don't think it's something
it's not
that
worthy.
It doesn't necessarily like build things between people. And I think on that note,
sarcasm.
just wrapping this episode up, I think that's really, like I said earlier, our job as men, our job as fathers, is to facilitate that journey, not to make decisions for people, but to facilitate the decisions.
And paint the overall picture for somebody, not just the one side or the other, but try to give as much information.
Well, and help them understand that, let's look at that picture and see the forest and the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Not just and the path that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
And the path you want to go into.
Yeah. Exactly. The point of manifestation. The point of
Don't
you're the one in charge of your destiny.
Live. Just don't float along.
Well, don't let destiny
river of life.
It's the
chop
fact
your
that
own path.
Well, it's the fact of you're supposed to be in charge of destiny.
Navigate.
Destiny's not supposed to be in charge of you.
Free will, baby. Free will.
Absolutely.
It's not supposed to be in charge of you. You can change destiny, ladies and gentlemen. Destiny just means a circumstance will be placed upon you. Doesn't mean that it's in concrete. Doesn't mean that it is unchangeable and an immutable law of nature.
No, you affect all that is around you with those decisions. What other time and space portion that you're in.
And as Michael cracks the last beer on that table, I would like to once again thank everybody from Joshua Davis to Michael Davis, Crystal Davis, Dr. Crystal Davis, for joining us on the program this evening. Thank you guys so much. And, you know, make sure to, if you're in the Mercer area, go check out the academyofdanceanatomy.com. They put on some great programs. They put on some great recitals whenever they do stuff every year. It's fantastic. They have acting classes. They
ballroom tomorrow night.
They have ballroom dancing for adults. They have all kinds of stuff. So go by and check them out. And on that note, everybody, remember, number one, if you can't be good at it.
That's right.
Number two, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Until next time, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Stop on by, check out our sisters, the HC Universal Network, and the Talking Sound podcast. Until next time, everybody, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Signing off.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Dads and Beer. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.